Ahoy guys, and welcome back to I Like Watches. On my wrist you can see the brand new 39mm Hexmariner by Revelot. They launched this watch in a 42mm size on Kickstarter a couple of years ago, and by all accounts it did pretty well, reaching its goal in, get this, 7 minutes flat. Incredible. Now, off the back of their success, they're now producing this 39mm version, which they're going to be launching on their website on the 10th of November for a reduced price. It's going to be $249 US instead of the normal $339. Now, they've sent me this prototype to review for you guys, but they also included this little note where they reminded me it is a prototype, so it may have some flaws, may have some scratches, it may have some dust on the dial, under the crystal, the accuracy of the movement may not be fantastic. And they've also reminded me that the bezel insert colour may change, the outside of the bezel may also change. So yeah, I want to do a full review, but yeah, I'm not really going to be able to zoom right in and have a look at the quality of the actual build, because this isn't a full production watch, sadly, but still we can have a good look at this thing. It's quite interesting in terms of its design, and it does seem to represent pretty decent value for money. So yeah, let's get on with a full review, shall we? Now, the link in my video description is not an affiliate link. It just takes you to their website where you'll be able to click on this Hexmariner 39 and it takes you to their promotional page where you can see some lovely pictures of the watches. You'll see some specifications, some more pictures of what you can expect if you order one of these watches, and then if we keep going down you're going to see some more dimensions, specifications. But this is the best bit because we want to have a look at the color options. Now, this is the watch that I've been sent, and there are a couple of changes. The bezel insert is darker apparently on the actual production watch, and as you can see, this one has a gold bezel. Yeah, my one has a polished steel bezel, which I think I probably prefer. But they've gone for a matching to the dial and applied indices bezel. But anyway, let's have a look at the other colour options. You've got a blue one with gold. Again, I think that probably would have looked better if they'd have left it stainless steel. But yeah, I think my favourite is this one, the metallic white steel. I mean, even this one looks really, really good. The gold and stainless steel one with the meteorite dial. Very, very nice. And if you just go down a little bit further, you can sign up to their newsletter to make sure you don't miss out. Right, let's take a look at this actual prototype. Right, let's kick things off with a wrist roll. Gives us an opportunity to look at this watch on my roughly average 7¼ inch-ish wrist. And my first impressions were, yeah, they've gone all out with this hex theme, haven't they? Cool bracelet. Love the facets and angles on the bracelet. They've also matched it with the case. Great end links. Lovely case shape. Cool design on the dial. Interesting hexagonal applied indices. Yeah, it's fairly original in its design, isn't it? Which is quite unusual these days. So yeah, I have to give them credit. They have created a very interesting and good looking watch. It wears pretty well. Decent weight distribution around the wrist. It's not too heavy. I'll run through all the dimensions and specifications in a moment. But yeah, first impressions are it's an interesting looking watch and it wears very nicely. Now, unfortunately, I never got my hands on the 42mm version. This is my very first Revelot, but given how successful the Kickstarter campaign was, I suspect it was a very nice watch. Now, with this 39mm version, they've not just made it smaller, they've made a few other changes as well, which they've very kindly listed on that small piece of paper. So they've included more micro adjusts on the clasp, so I gather there wasn't that many on the 42mm version. They've now included a laser etched rehow, which is pretty cool. That's always nice to see. And they've improved the bezel action apparently. So yeah, let's have a fiddle with the bezel and check that out. You ready? Oh, that's all right actually. The clicks aren't crisp and loud, but they're consistent. The resistance is consistent as well. It's a fairly light action. Yeah, it's quite nice actually. Nice bezel action. Let's check out the alignment. One more, I think. Yeah, that's pretty good. No back play. So yeah, for a prototype, the bezel action is pretty good. Now, I've spent some time wearing this watch. I've also taken lots of macro shots and footage of this watch, so I'm fairly familiar with it now. And if the production watches come out in this sort of condition, I think you're going to be very happy. I've put it on the time grapher. It's running fantastically well. It is only on the time grapher. It's not necessarily a true reflection of its accuracy when it's on someone's wrist, but this one is running at +1 second a day roughly. Good amplitude, good beat error. I can't find any issues with the steel finishing. The fit and finish is actually very, very nice. Polished surfaces are good. Brushing is nice. Bezel action is good. There's just one minor issue. I think this applied index at the 3 o'clock is a little bit off. I think it's slightly twisted, pointing just above the center of the dial. I'm sure you can see that. But apart from that, this watch is in pretty much perfect condition, which bodes well for the full production watches, I think. Right, let's now give you some proper dimensions. The diameter is, oh nice, 38.9 millimeters. Thickness, 12.9. Lug to lug, oh nice, 44 millimeters. Let me give you the overall case length because you do have male end links, 48.5, 20 mil lugs, little bit of taper on the bracelet and back up to 19.5 at the clasp. Now this is a 200 meter diver, so hopefully it's not over 150 grams for me. No, 147, nice. Right, there's a couple of pieces of crystal. Let's check them for sapphire. Front facing crystal is sapphire crystal. It is a flat piece of sapphire crystal, and if I get the watch at the right angle, you should be able to see a blue AR coating just up here, look, on the outside of the crystal. Very nice. But what about the back? Do we have a sapphire sandwich? We do! Sweet! Oh wow, wasn't expecting that. Now I've taken out the spring bar in the clasp so we can have a good look at this case back. It is a screw down case back with a very interesting design on the sapphire crystal. You can see Hexmariner at the top there. There is some text on it, but it's not very clear. It does obscure the view of the NH35. I mean, it's not the prettiest movement, so I'm not sure how I feel about that gilt pattern on it. I'd probably prefer it just to be plain, but you've got some specifications on the outside of the case back, and the crown is also signed with their Hexmariner, or Revelot I should say, logo, giving the watch, I think it's on the dial, yep, there it is, 200 meters of water resistance. Now I've zoomed in so we can have a good look at some of the interesting details on the dial, the case. Yeah, there's quite a lot to look at, isn't there? Really cool pattern on the dial. Interesting hands as well, some high polished facets on the outside, rather thick sword hands. Yeah, interesting hexagonal logo pip on the seconds hand with a red tip. Really nice applied indices, interesting angles and facets to those. Those seem to be nicely done. Yeah, nice ceramic bezel insert as well. It will be a little bit darker by all accounts on the full production watch, but still, I actually don't think this one is bad. Now, don't forget they are changing the outside of the bezel to a gold gilt, which I think is a bit of a shame. How it is now, I think looks pretty good. But we can see the finishing on the case now, some interesting angles and facets, a polished chamfered edge running all the way down this case, even around these crown guards, look. That's quite interesting, some strong angles on the end links, which match the case pretty nicely. Yeah, it's an interesting looking case, isn't it? And the bracelet is also very interesting, really nice, strong sort of corners and facets, polished chamfered edges, brushed sides, so it looks like the only polished surface is this tiny little facet here, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like it. I really like it. And I think they've done a nice job with the clasp as well. They've matched the bracelet with some high polished chamfered edges running the length of the clasp, which is, yeah, a wise decision. Plenty of micro adjusts. Nice finishing on top of the clasp. And then you've got some milled in elements look. So yeah, I think they've chosen well. Now I did want to point out the double-ended quick release spring bars, which is a really nice touch, but unfortunately these tabs that you grip onto to undo them don't stick out from underneath the end links look, so I have struggled to actually, well, make use of them basically, so I'm not sure if that's going to change for the full production watch. You can still use the tool and undo them, it's just the whole purpose of these is to change bracelets really quickly, and yeah, the fact that you can't grip onto those sort of negates that really, doesn't it? But there you go. Well, I can totally see why the Kickstarter for the original 42mm version did so well. I think it is an interesting, good looking dive watch, lots of originality, lots of original design features and design cues to this watch. There's a couple of things that I would have either changed or left as is. I like this watch with the polished stainless steel outer edge to that bezel. Of course, they're changing it to match the gilt finish on the hands and the applied indices. Yeah, I like it as it is, so I wouldn't have changed it. I don't mind the colour of the bezel insert. It is a very nice olive green. I think it matches the dial very nicely. And the pattern on the crystal in the Caseback, yeah, I would have taken that away, because even though the NH35, not the most inspiring movement to have a look at, but if there's a display Caseback, you want to at least see the movement that is in there. But on the whole, $249 for this watch, which is the launch price. Don't forget, it's launching on the 10th of November. I think that is a fantastic price. There is so much to like about this watch. I love the bracelet, very nice clasp, lots of nice design features to look at on the case and on the dial. Yeah, I think they've done a cracking job. Yeah, hats off to them. Right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section. Yeah, it's always nice to read your comments. It's always good for other people considering buying these watches. And don't forget, there is a link to their website in my video description. It's not an affiliate link. It just takes you there. Just saves you a couple of seconds. That's it. All right, guys, take care. Look after yourselves. You'll see me again very, very soon.